My name is Nicholas Thomford, lecturer at the School of Medical Sciences, University of Cape Coast. Today, I present for the affirmative, should there be stricter regulations on direct-to-consumer genetic testing companies to protect consumer privacy and ensure accuracy. The number of direct-to-consumer genetic tests have increased over the years. A lot of companies are offering direct-to-consumer genetic tests over the last couple of years, and this has prompted a lot of calls for regulations that are stricter than probably what is currently available. Among the challenges is the fact that there is lack of consensus on the kind of regulations that should be available so that it is going to cover the global market of direct-to-consumer genetic tests. These direct-to-consumer genetic tests that have exploded over the years as the companies bring a lot of services to consumers, and some of these services are sold as being able to assess an individual's genetic risk to diseases and even to therapeutic efficacy. And therefore, looking at the explosion of consumer genetics companies that are moving around, it is important that stricter regulations are put across. These DTCs have instigated a lot of discussions, especially when it gets to resource interpretation, the clinical utility, storage, and even for some, maybe commercialization of technology. And then looking at these complexities that are associated with direct-to-consumer genetic tests, it is important, and we agree that we should have stricter regulations for these DTCs. Looking at how genetics has been sold to the fact that it can be a solution to a lot of people's issues in terms of health, it is important that we look at the overbearing effects of genetics on the health and privacy of people. And I give an example where, for example, in 2018, 23andMe, through a partnership with GlaxoSmithKline, allowed the company to use test results of about 5 million customers to design new drugs that resulted in the company investing over $300 million into the company. The question, therefore, is how would current regulations such as Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, the Clinical Laboratory Improvement Amendment, and Federal Trade Commission's guidelines protect an individual's privacy for instance, in such an instance where there is commercialization of the genetic data of consumers or customers? Currently, there are some existing frameworks. However, we believe that they are not enough to protect the privacy of individuals, for instance, during commercialization of genetic tests, as what happened in 23andMe and GlaxoSmithKline. These are some of the issues that are looked at. In terms of data and security and consumer privacy risk, there could be vulnerabilities in terms of breaches, unauthorized access, and potential misuse. Because as they are getting the genetic data, they may want some of these data, especially demographics and all that, to be able to use it in their drug design. And in giving just the genetic data or giving access to genetic data, these companies are hawks, and they may probably find ways and means of accessing the genetic data and personal information of individuals to be able to bring out what to them in terms of commercialization will make their product sell. Also, in terms of ethical consideration, when a consumer is signing an ethical form, normally the consumer does not understand what he or she is signing. It is summarized, and eventually the consumer will sign. But then at the end of the day, what is the consumer putting across? So there should be regulations that will allow these companies to break down things to the consumer, to be able to decode the informed consent, spell out every implication so that the consumer will be aware of what he or she is getting himself into. Also, these genetic tests have implications for families because the results and interpretation may result in a lot of things that could harm a lot of families. And also the certification of the results. At times, the results, who certifies the results that come from these companies? They are individuals that are employed that then decide whether they need to certify it, and they will look at it and in their mind, it is all right to certify it. In terms of accuracy, who ensures the accuracy of the test? Again, these are people who come in and then decide that they've employed people, geneticists, who now ensure accuracy. Interpretation, the same thing in terms of clinical utility. Is the results available to be able to use for everything that it's supposed to be used for? Everything that is supposed to be used for? No, we are not aware of it. Psychological impact. Before genetic tests are released, before genetic tests are released, do we have any counseling before these genetic tests are released? Before these genetic tests are released, who counsels patients? Who counsels patients and tells them that these genetic tests, this is the implication, this is it, this is that? Most genetic tests are just given out to patients, maybe interpreted one way or the other, and just given to them. The implications of these genetic tests are not made known to patients. This therefore means that we need regulations that would ensure that genetic tests are mandatory for patients. Genetic tests, genetic counseling should be mandatory for these companies. They should employ genetic counselors who would then use the test, counsel the patients before the results are interpreted to them. Every implication spelled out fully for these patients. Whilst direct-to-consumer genetic tests offers possibilities for personalized medicine, it is actually essential and very important to prioritize consumer protection and data integrity. And therefore, we say that stricter regulations should be made available to address concerns that would result in mandating rigorous data security standards, enforcing clear guidelines for data sharing and usage, ensuring accuracy and reliable testing methods, providing clear and understandable information to consumers, and also establishing mechanisms for genetic counseling so that patients will not suffer undue mental health issues. We therefore call for stricter regulation to safeguard consumer privacy, ensure accuracy of genetic data, and protect individuals from potential harm. By implementing a robust oversight, we can harness the benefit of direct-to-consumer genetic testing, whilst making sure that we minimize every risk that is associated with this industry that is exploding with time. Thank you very much.